back to the show. The Me Too movement has totally reshaped the media industry, and those accused are taking time away to make amends for their actions. JK, they're on TV yelling into Gayle King's face. Look, it is hard to keep talking about this shit. That's why we asked some incredibly talented women animators to draw it.
I think watching The Little Mermaid was a big one for me. The three things I wanted to be when I was a kid was a marine biologist, a musical theater singer, or an animator.
I kind of grew up sort of feral in the woods and then got into animation because it was the easiest way to tell stories where I could be all sorts of different characters.
I always wanted to be a cartoonist, starting like 6th grade or something.
I remember getting the phone call from DreamWorks saying that I got the job, and I actually had to pull over somewhere so I could jump around for a little bit.
I think Me Too is waiting to happen in every industry if you look around.
After the Harvey Weinstein thing happened, we had already been talking about starting a group.
We started a private Facebook group.
Literally the first post was like a huge one. It was this one.
I was around 22 when it first happened and desperately trying to break into the animation industry. He followed me on LinkedIn and through email and everything. He was fine, but meeting him in person, it escalated.
I've known Shane for 10 years. This was like such a shock to me. Oh my God, my best friend went through this, and I didn't find out until a post was made on the Facebook group.
Something came over my body. My hands just started typing frantically, and I remember shaking and just typing, and it wasn't thought out. It was just years of just pent up feelings, you know. People knew exactly who I was talking about, and I didn't need to say who it was.
Several women in the comments came out and said, I'm pretty sure I know who this is. This has happened to me too.
It was like, oh, it's Chris Savino.
Big news that broke out in the animation community this week is that the Loud House creator, Chris Savino,
has been accused of sexual harassment. This has actually been going on for decades on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon.
From unwanted sexual advances
and threats to blacklist women who refuse to be in relationships with him.
I guess that's why they say you should never meet your heroes.
It becomes apparent that there are 10 people, 15 people. He had worked everywhere and he had made this hit show.
We didn't know if he was going to be removed. Then Cartoon Brew put out an article and that forced Nickelodeon's hand and he was fired.
There was this huge anxiety that he was just going to get hired somewhere else.
People do terrible things and then they just get to keep working.
And the statute of limitations for sexual harassment in California is so small, we could not even legally do anything with that.
We needed people to know, if you hired this guy, you're gonna be held responsible when he harasses somebody, scares somebody, corners somebody. But we were just like, these nerdy cartoonist girls, what could we do?
We realized that this had been behavior that had gone on at 3 different major studios. That's what made us think of getting the guild involved.
Somebody went through the union constitution.
There was no language about sexual harassment, but a couple people had discovered the language around disloyalty.
He's betrayed the union by making people feel unsafe in the union.
So we had to draft an affidavit, get it notarized, all the signatures. So we met up at a UPS store.
I'm just really surprised so many people showed up.
It was like hilarious. Like imagine you're like a notary, you know, you're almost gonna close and suddenly there's like 100 people in Steven Universe shirts at your door.
And they actually kicked us out.
So we went out to the Chuck E. Cheese parking lot. Yeah, animation is classy.
We had to call a mobile notary. She mentioned that she had an experience of her own at a law firm she had worked at before, and she was really on board to help us.
We rolled into the union building and we're like, we want to charge him with misconduct.
Oh, did I mention there were 93 people that signed the charges? He wanted them dropped. They weren't going to be dropped.
I was really, really scared when I learned there was going to be a trial within the guild.
We were the last people to enter the room.
We all wore black, we all had little roses.
40 to 50 people were sitting behind us in solidarity.
There was this sense of power.
There were 11 witnesses who spoke.
Their statements were almost identical. Like this person had an MO.
He's like a spider who lures people to his web and they get tangled in it.
I was just watching him act sympathetic and like act like he was listening and like he understood fucking anything. Sorry, can I swear? Yeah.
Bucker. Sorry.
We found out like the day of that he was going to give a statement at the end. When that time came, we stood up and turned away from him. And even though we hadn't planned the rest of it, everyone else in the room actually turned away from him too.
His statement was a piece of shit. I didn't believe any of it.
If anyone's a predator out there, you shouldn't say it wasn't my intention, because whether it was your intention or not, 15 women felt, harassed by you.
He's suspended for a year, and they sent a letter out to the studios that they had found Chris Savino guilty of disloyalty.
The letter, when it comes down to it, is a public shaming. And the letter is, I think, the strongest thing we could have done.
I was able to tell him, I wish I had never met you. And that was something I never thought I was going to be able to do. It really felt like that trial was me with my women army, and there's like this sword that's stuck in the ground, and I'm like trying to lift it and I can't, and then a bunch of hands coming on the hilt, helping me wield that sword and take down the web.
Yeah, you mess with someone's friends and they'll fuck you up,
We'll be right back.